First of all, Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. What is your reaction to President Biden's decision to withdraw from the race today?
It was the right decision. It's been almost 3 weeks since I was the first member of Congress to call on him to step aside. I know it was a painful decision for him, but there's so many people in the country that have been saying they want a different candidate. And I believe that Texans also, while many favor President Trump, will want someone who is not pursuing the presidency for personal revenge and who will do a better job of bringing our country together.
You mentioned you were the first congressional Democrat to call for the president to step aside, but you certainly weren't the last. We saw dozens and dozens of your colleagues echo your words. What do you make of that? Right after you made that call, we heard so many others saying the same thing.
Well, I think I opened the door for some people that found it a little more difficult to voice publicly their views. Many of them were voicing them privately. Not a question about the president's ability to complete these months in doing the job. In fact, I think he can now focus more on some of the international challenges that we have instead of devoting so much of his time to campaigning. But a recognition that the numbers have not been in his favor for the last year. His debate performance, we hope, would make it better. It didn't. And just dealing with reality, the cold, hard facts that in order to provide a viable challenge to President Trump in the fall, we need a stronger candidate. I hope we can get one. Naturally, with his endorsement of Vice President Harris, she's the front runner, but I think it's very important that this be an open, fair, and democratic process so that anyone who wants to be considered can be considered by the convention, and America can see democracy in action.
Why do you think it's important that Harris not be sort of a shoo-in for it?
Well, I think she has not had a separate campaign. Many people in America know she's the vice president, but they don't know a great deal about her. And there may be other viable candidates who can make a case that they're stronger for the fall in these battleground states. So I want to hear from all. I know many people are making endorsements of the obvious frontrunner today, but we've got several thousand delegates who have a vote in this, and I think they need to have their say, and the people need to have their say. There'll be some polls out. There'll be other ways for people to express their opinion in the few weeks that remain before the convention. And as far as I'm concerned, we need to hear that in order to be sure we have the strongest candidate to prevent what I think would be a real setback for our country were President Trump reelected.
If not Vice President Harris, do you have any names in mind that you might like to see on the ticket?
I think there are a number of governors, senators who are possibilities. I'm not choosing a candidate at this point. I just want to choose the most effective and the strongest nominee to challenge Trump in the fall.
Should Lloyd Doggett be on the ticket?
No, not at all. I'm so pleased that I've been able to represent Austin, and I'll be on the ballot in the fall seeking another 2-year term in my job as the Congress member for Austin.
So open convention comes with a lot of uncertainty. Why are you confident that that route where we don't know the outcome is better than kind of the known quantity of Biden were he to continue?
Well, I've always believed in democracy, not just with a big D for Democrats, but democracy as a way of achieving results. And I'm sure that the convention process may be a little messy, will involve some disputes, but that's democracy in action. And if we can have our differences respectfully, I think we'll be the stronger for it. I think that's the best way to make this decision rather than it to be just handpicked by a few.
How confident are you that whomever the candidate is going to actually be able to beat former President Donald Trump?
It will be an uphill struggle. It will take everyone making maximum effort, but there is so much at stake. I think it's basically a question about our freedom. Certainly, the freedom associated with women's health care is a big issue in this election, but freedom generally. I listened to almost all of President Trump's acceptance speech. His reference to Viktor Orban, the leading authoritarian in the European Union, is one of his heroes. And his whole approach to this campaign and his vengeful nature all give me great concern about whether, if once turned over the government to Trump and his associates, we'll ever get it back.
What are you hearing from your constituents here in Texas about what is happening here and what needs to happen going forward?
Well, I must say, in the few hours that have transpired here since the announcement, I haven't heard today very many, but I did hear from many after I made my announcement. Most of them supporting the view that we needed a stronger nominee than President Biden, but not all. And I understand that. When I spoke out, I was assuming the risk that not everyone would agree with it, either among my colleagues nor among my constituents. But I thought it was so very vital that we have a stronger nominee, and I think we'll get a stronger nominee now. I look forward to hearing from constituents as we go forward on their feelings about Vice President Harris and other alternatives and the process that we engage in to achieve a strong Democratic with a small d result in this race that will bring us eventually to success in November.
How important do you think Texas is and Texans in this race as we go forward now that we don't know who the nominee is? And would it make sense to have someone on the ticket from Texas?
Well, I think that there's been a tendency to focus all the attention on the battleground states, which is mainly the upper Midwest and perhaps Arizona and Nevada. Texas has been considered not in the game as long as President Biden was the Democratic nominee. Now I think it opens it up a little more. And we have a large Democratic delegation going to the convention in Chicago. They'll now have a bigger say. It will be a more exciting venture there. But I remain hopeful that with Colin Allred as our Senate nominee against Ted Cruz, that we will have a strong showing in the fall.
Yeah, is this move important for down ballot races like the senator from Texas?
It's absolutely very important. I think one of the reasons you began to see so many of my colleagues come forward is not only were they concerned about the presidency, but that if we had a Congress that was a Republican majority, House and Senate, the courts are already a Republican majority, it seems, and President Trump, that there really would be nothing to hold him back from any vengeful move he might want to make. And so it's really important, whatever the presidential selection, that there be a system of checks and balances here.
Congressman Lloyd Doggett, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your perspective on a Sunday with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. All the best.